Alright fam, if there's one thing about me you should know, it's that I'm a huge tokusatsu fan. Of the main three, I have a lot of love for Kamen Rider. While I've been on and off over the past few years, I recently got back into Rider through Kamen Rider Gotchard, which I kept up with pretty religiously. Since that revitalized my love for the genre again, I was super excited to see the debut of the next Rider, Kamen Rider Gotchard. How well did this new Rider kick things off? Well, let's talk about it. So the premise as we knew it is that Gotchard would revolve around a card game gimmick. Of course, Gotchard is like the fourth series to utilize cards, the first three being Ryuki, Blade, and Decade. But it is very cool to see that these cards are actually more in a TCG style. Whether they actually have more playability outside of being gimmicks, who knows. It's also worth mentioning that Gotchard is also the third series to utilize a dual combination gimmick as well, the others being Double and Build. What's interesting is that for Double and Build, each Gaia Memory and Full Bottle has its own representation on the rider's form and is interchangeable in combat. For Gotchard, it looks like his armor isn't made up of the two elements separately, but the two card themes fuse into one armor. Furthermore, Gotchard has specific forms that are unlocked only by special card combination. This leads me to believe that the card gimmick won't necessarily operate the same way as Double or Build. I don't think he can make random combinations or switch cards one out at a time. There doesn't look to be that flexibility in his armor to reflect that kind of capability. But once again, who knows? Moving on to the actual episode, in episode 1 we were introduced to some main characters. Ichinose Hotaro, our daydreaming protagonist desperately searching for something in his life that'll make him go gacha. Kuro Rine, a fellow daydreamer who is Hotaro's classmate but also an alchemist descending from a long line of alchemists. Handsome alchemist guy, the seemingly keeper of the chemis and the gacha driver who also bestows upon the driver to Hotaro, and through wiki I learned his name is Kurofuga, father of Rine. Minato sensei, Hotaro and Rine's teacher who is also an authoritative alchemist figure, and the three dark sisters, Atropos, Cloto, and Lachesis. These three dark sisters who are hell-bent on getting their hands on the gacha driver and using it for despair. Now, here's the story so far. So, TLDR, Fuga is running from the three sisters who are trying to take the gacha driver, and while escaping he sends Hopper 1 and Steamliner to find the one who is worthy of the driver. They enter the human world and find Hotaro, who is transported back to the Ouroboros dimension and is given the driver by Fuga before he perishes at the hands of the sisters. When he returns, all 101 chemis are released into the human world, and he and Rine are attacked by Cloto, who absorbs the Comantis chemi. Rine aids Hotaro for a bit, but then Hotaro stands his ground, embracing the name Kamen Rider Gotchard, transforming into the eponymous rider and defeating Cloto. Cloto escapes, and then we see Minato sensei revealing more about himself than we knew before, and that is episode 1. First off, here's what's good. I really do like the creativity of the concept. Honestly, when I heard that alchemy was going to be a core concept, I thought, well, no series can do alchemy better than Fullmetal Alchemist, right? I may still be correct, but I'm intrigued to see where they take this and how they continue to delve into alchemy as a contributing factor to Gotchard's powers and its role in this world. The scene where Fuga grants Hotaro the name of Kamen Rider, I thought that moment was great. You could feel the weight of the moment where Fuga wasn't really able to explain everything to Hotaro, but desperately has to grant him a powerful gift, but an equally powerful responsibility. I also like that Fuga gave him the name Kamen Rider, but Hotaro gave himself the name Gotchard, feeling deep down that this was the thing that would make him go gacha. The way he named himself really feels like his identity isn't just that of one he received, but one that he made for himself, and I thought that was pretty cool. I really like the suit design. It's just so shiny. And I enjoy that it, of course, embraces the grasshopper theme, and the goggles are a really nice touch. The henshin sequence in itself was pretty interesting. I didn't expect them to go so literal with the alchemy and have the henshin take place in a bottle, but it's interesting to say the least. Oh, and the finisher, while I am kinda on the actual kick, the way he preps it with the steam coming out as he's on one leg, yes, that was awesome. The three Dark Sister designs are really good. I think the veils on Cloto and I don't think they ever said her name yet. But those really work well with the eye and mouth designs overlaying their faces. Also, Atropos is such a creepy child villain. She plays it really well, and I'm excited to see how they continue to get in Hotaro's way. So I didn't find anything that was atrociously bad in this episode. Sometimes in tokusatsu there are moments that really take me out of it because of how illogical or unbelievable it feels. King Oger. So instead, here's what I felt was not as good. The Henshin. Okay, I'm sure this will be cleared up in episode 2, but I'm a bit confused as to why he transformed into the grasshopper thing and not his rider form directly. Now, I understand that, say in XA, they transformed into their level 1 forms, and then by pulling the lever on the driver, they progressed to level 2. That's all fine and dandy, and I get if that's sort of the intention for this, but it does show that he just touched the driver and then he got his rider form, so... The main reason this irks me is because it worries me that there may be some inconsistencies in how the driver operates in the future, but we'll see. Hotaro seems like an okay protagonist so far, even though his motivations don't seem as deep or impactful. If there's one thing I'd comment on, I felt like his movements during the Henshin lacked a bit of conviction. I'm not sure if that's on the actor's part, or you could also argue that it's his first time transforming, but he was being led by visions granted to him by Fuga, so I was led to believe that he would be able to put his whole ass into the Henshin, especially after he gave his whole speech about protecting the driver. Alright, and so I read somewhere that I'm not sure, maybe the actress for Rine or maybe a showrunner for the show overall considers the relationship between Hotaro and Rine less more of a writer to female lead but a dual protagonist role like Shotaro and Philip. While I'm not sure if that's just gassing up the role a little bit more than it should be, I'm interested to see how her story will have an equally heavy weight while impacting Hotaro and his journey as Gotchard. One thing I'm hoping to see more from Rine herself are her facial expressions. Yes, I know she is a very young actress, but she felt kind of one-dimensional in this episode. Even in some moments that felt like it could elicit more emotion, I don't think I saw her expression change from straight-faced, mildly frustrated. I'm hoping to see a lot more development in her character as well as her performance. Overall, I think this was a fun debut. It didn't entirely wow me, but I am intrigued to see what happens next. Geats had a pretty serious tone to it, and while I loved that, it was a bit refreshing to see Gotchard kind of reel itself back in terms of seriousness, especially with the whole monster collecting aspect. And this is just episode 1, I'm sure many of my questions are yet to be answered, so I'll give the show time to answer them for me. How did you enjoy this debut? Did you have similar questions? Let me know. Anyways, that's it for my deep dive into the debut of Kamen Rider Gotchard. We'll see what else Gotchard has in store for us.